All right. A very warm welcome to you all. Welcome in the Duif. Used to be a church, and this is like the best place to talk about queer nightlife, isn't it? My name is Jörgen, Fong, and I will be your moderator for today. We've got a very short and sweet panel. We've got 45 minutes in order to talk to these people behind me about queer culture and queer nightlife. If there are any questions from the audience and we still have time, please raise your hand, then I'll come to you with a microphone and you can ask your questions. But I'd like to introduce my panel first. If we take the mic and tell us shortly who you are and what you do in life.
Is it on? Yeah. My name is Junior and I work for Club Nix as the programmer of our queer events inside the club.
Right, and can you describe what Club Nix is about?
Club Nix is an open-minded club, but I specialized in our queer event, which basically is our Saturday, and our external events such as Vodka Woensdag Extra Large and things as New Year. So basically if it's a Nix production, it's queer.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sherryl Netteb. People know me as Cheesy Pearl as well, and I'm here to represent Ms.Jones. And Ms.Jones is a queer, women-only focused event. Yes. And I create the place just to be a safe space for all the queer women or people who feel like women to have a nice time and enjoy each other.
Right. Did you think there was a need for a safe space for queer women?
There's always a need for a safe space.
And why is that? Why is
queer women? Because growing up, I was always looking for a safe place. I knew like 2 places to go, and mostly underground places. And what I'm trying to do is just organize events openly, not like in the city or to normalize it. I hate those words, but I try to normalize it.
Right. Thank you so much for now.
So my name is Kasper Burghout. I'm representing Pornceptual, where I've been involved in for about 5 years, but currently I'm based in the Netherlands. Pornceptual is much more of a collective. We're not just a party. We have an online art magazine, an online shop. We've published 3 magazines, and through our parties we want to offer a platform for people for like gender fantasies and kind of like sexual experimentation.
You have to tilt your mic a little bit more.
A little bit? Okay, yeah. Perfect.
Pornceptual is mainly in Berlin. Berlin is known for its free nightlife.
Yeah.
In what way is Pornceptual in addition to that?
I think Pornceptual is in addition to that because we really try to accommodate the full spectrum of human being. I would consider us as a rather inclusive and very diverse party. I think that's something that's reflected in our team, the people that we work with, the people that we book, and the people that we support. And we're also a sex-positive party, so sex is happening throughout our entire space. We have some dark rooms, and I think one of the things that Pornceptual is doing differently than a lot of other sex parties in Berlin is that it is very diverse in terms of its crowd. You can come in and you can see a guy getting a blowjob, and next to them there might be a straight couple missing out and a girl nipping on a drink.
All right, thank you so much. We'll come back to you later.
Marieke, Samallo, founder and creative director of Milkshake Festival, which is, we've done it for 8 years right now in Amsterdam and 2 years in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Why was there a need to go outside of Amsterdam, to go to Sao Paulo?
Why not spread that love?
Very good. And Milkshake exploded now. Can it go even bigger?
No, please don't.
All right. We'll come to you later too as well.
Hi, I'm Anthony. I started a party in London called What Club, which is a sort of underground queer dance party, which started as a small little event in East London and then has kind of grown to bigger events. We actually did a stage at Milkshake. And then more recently I've been working with events with booking artists for Extinction Rebellion and also focusing on a music project under Absolute. So.
Right. And the definition of queer, what is that for you? Because there's so many interpretations for that.
Yeah, I think it's alternative, like an alternative gay subculture, I guess. That for me, yeah, it means gay, but alternative and not necessarily mainstream, but could also be a bit riotous, a bit punk, a bit of an activist. I kind of feel it's incorporated into the umbrella of queer for me. So.
And London is like the epitome almost of almost capitalism. You have to have money in order to live in London, or else you won't survive. If the society is conducted like that, is there still room for queer anti-movement?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be someone pushing against that, and I feel when it's more prominent that capitalism or things on the right are more prevalent, then I think there's always going to be a reaction to that on the queer scene by it growing. So,
great, yeah. Thank you so much. Kay.
Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Kay, and I'm one of the co-founders and creative directors of House of Yes, which is a nightclub and performing arts space from Brooklyn, New York.
And you've got fans. How do you, in this changing society that is America, I know that New York is its separate island almost, but is there the conservatism that you experience in the United States? Do you see the reflection of that in New York as well? And do you react to that too?
I mean, absolutely. New York City is a microcosm, its own little world, but it's not exactly queer-only safe city for everybody to express themselves all the time. We definitely come across challenges of people, their racism, their homophobia, that is present in the city. And we try at House of Yes to make sure that that does not make it through our doors, and that when people walk into House of Yes, that it is a safer space.
How do you create that? Because ideas, you cannot, reject ideas at the door. How do you create that safe space?
How much time do we have?
Not much, so keep it short and sweet.
Okay. Gosh, honestly, it starts with the messaging and following through on your word, and the security, the staff to follow through and protect it. It's actually in the people working the venue and working the party to assist in the community to control and respect and protect each other. So. And
there's a responsibility for the community as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anna.
Hello, I'm Anna. I'm manager of Club Church, one of the only everyday gay club in Amsterdam. We are better known as a sex club, but that's a really broad perspective of all the things we do. So.
Are you a gay club or a queer club?
Gay.
And why that distinction?
No, I think that comes from a very long history from where we started to where we are now. So I think within what we do as a gay club, there is a whole community that reflects them as queer. I mean, we grow into it where we once were men only, we now do more bisexual parties or even lesbian parties. But there are also lesbian parties who are non-male, so are they queer?
Are they? Sherryl? Yeah, I decided you're the expert on that. Are the lesbian parties necessarily queer as well?
That depends on what queer is for you.
What is queer for you? Because
for
like
me,
I said,
queer is like a broader definition of lesbian, because some women or people, the society who defines some people as women, don't feel like women per se, don't want to label themselves with non-binary per se. And I think queer, and I think you said it as well, it's a little bit broader than just women only, female. So it's a broad spectrum for me.
Right, because that's the thing I want to have your reaction on as well, because we refer to the queer community as a queer community, but isn't that an illusion? Can we say that there is no queer community because there are so many distinctions for everybody, and it means a different thing for everybody as well? So my statement is now, there is no queer community at all.
I don't think so, because then you label it. And I like the mystery behind it. Like queer, for me, queer is like openness, like I'm a female, but sometimes people call me sir. So.
Do you mind if that happens?
No, I don't.
Right.
I don't. I really don't, because I used to, like, when I was younger, I was like, can't you see, like, but now I'm like, okay, yeah, can you help me?
Right.
Can we go further? And I don't know. When you say queer doesn't exist, one moment,
Yeah.
then you label it. I like the freedom of queerness.
Right.
Oh, could I?
Yeah.
Oh, do you have, go for it.
Yeah. So you kind of like, in response to that, like I haven't experienced one party where the whole single queer community can come together. However, I do believe that there is a queer community. We as Pornceptual 4 years ago, we started a festival where last year we brought over 30 queer collectives from all over the world together, like very small initiatives from Russia to Mexico to Barcelona. And having all these very tiny communities together really showed me the potential that we have as a community when we come together. And it's something that I've never seen in my life before. It's something that we don't see at Pornceptual. And it's something I don't see at other parties as well.
But what is it that you don't see? What is it specifically?
I think even within our parties, people don't feel included. And this is something that we have to be aware of. Even though when we say we are inclusive and diverse, there are still people who don't feel welcome, trans, non-binary, and people of color. And at the festival we had people in place, we had collectives in place that stood for these people, where people could identify themselves with. And at that point, I really saw all these communities that often live very separately in our so-called safer spaces come together as one. And it was also a festival, so it was in the daylight. And I think it was really beautiful to see everyone in the day once and not in a very dark club.
Yeah. Okay, so even the queer community, if there is one, is exclusive or excluding people. Do you agree with that?
It can be, and I do think queer can be that umbrella definition. I feel that there is sometimes a need for cultural sustainability, and sometimes sustaining your culture does mean that you are protecting your culture. And you know, we've had this issue at House of Yes even, when you swing open the doors, you say, everybody's welcome. That doesn't mean, like, we don't actually want assholes who are going to ruin the vibe in the doors. We're struggling with how we can maintain and protect everything we stand for and still allow people to feel included, even if they're not in with the community. For the definition of queer for us, it really means, aside from your sexual preference, anything that is outside of heteronormativity, basically being basic and normal and being like, I'm going to marry somebody of my opposite gender and have a child and buy a house. So open relationships, you know, there's a bunch of ways where you can feel that you are included in the queer umbrella.
So it's queer is non-conformist, or is
exactly.
Or is queer anti-hetero?
Queer means a little bit off, right? It doesn't mean like I have sex with somebody who has the same genitals as I do and whatever. It means like, they're a little weird. That's
yeah. But is, in your definition, to make it more extreme, and that's my job as a moderator, is queer anti-hetero?
No.
Why not?
Because it isn't, because allyship is part of the queer community. Being a supporter of that weirdness and standing for it means that you are therefore even a little off. Because you're into the people that are a little off, that means you're also a little off.
Yeah. When you organize events for the queer community, if there is one, how important, because it's been discovered by commercial parties as well, people that want to make money of queer communities, is that okay? Or does it need to be infused with something else?
You mean making money off of queer community?
Yeah.
Only if you are giving that money back into the queer community, supporting the queer community, making sure the artists, the producers, and people that are actually throwing that party and a part of that tribal culture are getting that money too and getting their fair share of that money, we can all win. You know, I'm a venue, I'm a queer woman, but we definitely sell drinks at our bar, and the queer parties sell their tickets too. So it is a mutually beneficial relationship. I believe that that's how it should be attended to.
Right, Anthony, what's your opinion on that?
Well, in terms of bringing bigger corporations in or people with budget, I think there's been a lot of talk about it with London Pride, because London Pride is probably one of the main ones that has a lot of sponsorship. But from our point, as like a small club brand, for us to kind of bring in bigger events and make something special for people, then you do sometimes need that bit of extra investment or that bit of boost, which you may not be able to do. You wouldn't be able to facilitate yourself.
How do you select your commercial partners?
Well, for us, it's only ever been people that it's actually only ever been sort of LGBTQ brands that have actually invested in what we've done. So I haven't ever had I haven't had to make the decision if it's like I mean, to be honest, I don't think any company that is anti-gay or anti-LGBTQ would want to be associated with a queer brand anyway. So
no, but for instance, if you see the Pride in Amsterdam, it's been supported by banks. And they've got the rainbow flags in their offices, and they've got the commercial in August where you can support Pride. But are they really inclusive? Is it really an intention of them in order to is it to make money? Is it another commercial, or is it to support a community?
Yeah, I think it's all of it. I mean, they're obviously there to make money, but I think actually, I mean, I just think back if I was a child and I was seeing all these brands that had rainbow flags everywhere, I would have felt a lot better as a young gay kid that was happening. So I think it has a lot of positives, but also there are some negatives. But the fact that they want to get involved, I think, is a positive thing, and I think it's definitely good to keep awareness.
Yeah, well, I'm always quite struck by that these communities, and gay community as well, has become a very close consumers community, or became a consumers product. This is a weird thing. I think the worst thing that can happen to queer lifestyle is and there you go, right? Because it's not a lifestyle. I think it's a political, philosophical basis towards life, and it's not a thing you can use as a product. But this is what happens at the moment. Very quickly, people already can sign out what queer could be, what they wear, what they eat, what kind of music they like. For me as a club, I'm just running a business, and next to a queer can stand somebody else with a complete other political interest. The only thing we do is try to make a nice selection of people who feel with us or what we want to celebrate. They're not particularly queer. I mean, it's not a focus of economics, because I think if we're gonna do that towards the queer community, it might lost his aim very quickly.
But, for instance, not very clear, but what if the ING knocks on your door, on church's door, and says, you know what, we would like to support you guys, and that means you can get a bigger venue, you can organize bigger parties, you can pay everybody more, but then the logo of that bank should be included everywhere. What would you say in that sense?
Oh, well, no, because, if you refer to that question, of course, church already has a way how it wants to present themselves within the economics as it is. Therefore, we show as well that you can have a small, because we are a very small club, can have a very big outreach. The club itself works as it works. We actually even work with a foundation next to that, and that's how we create our parties, and we give a lot back to the community. We like to keep doing that. You can really question yourself if that works when you get really big. But we do well as we do, so...
Yeah, you're satisfied with where you are right now. Yeah. Kasper?
I think for us, Pornceptual, that's quite an easy question to answer, because honestly, brands don't even want to work with us in the first place. It's true, like they see the name Pornceptual, they love the aesthetic and they love what we do, but they're afraid of the tag porn to their brand, even though we're so much more than that. So it doesn't even come to that. Brands, they're just in it, they're afraid of their reputation, that it's ruined to be attached to us. So the only brand partnership we have is with a vegan condom brand at the moment. So they're really expensive also. Like so.
all kind of questions pop in my head right now, but I won't go into that specifically. But isn't it quite hypocritical? Because I think that a lot of companies use a lot of the queer or the porn aesthetics in their communication, but they don't want to attach themselves to like an initiative like yours.
Yeah, that is very hypocritical. Yeah, exactly.
Right. How do you balance that within Nix? Because it's not a purely gay or queer club; it's mixed. And how can you behold the identity of the club to have it as a safe space for gay people?
Well, it was quite kind of hard because before I started, because you're an open-minded space, what is open-minded? Like, it's a definition which is not really there. Yeah, you can be everyone, but still you have people coming inside the club. It's like, oh yeah, I'm open-minded, but then you see two guys kissing, you're like, yeah, can you do that at home? So for me, like, it was important to start our Saturday, which was actually, yeah, it's an open-minded club, but Saturday is just for queer people or LGBTQ plus people. If you're there on a Friday, 50% can be straight, but on a Saturday I prefer to have people or like-minded people inside the club who are there and won't look at you weird if you dress in just a bra or nipple stickers or whatever. But it's hard, but that's the job of our door host, which is especially attractive for the Saturday, to know like what can we bring in and what is better to come back on another day.
But how do you react to people saying that you don't make a choice in that sense? Then you're just using the queer or gay community.
Well, I'm gay. The people I book are gay or lesbian or trans. The kids who come to the club, they're all part of the community. And sure, you have to make money in order to maintain a space, but we're also the only steady space, besides church, I think, which hosts parties which aren't location-based or once every four months. Like, we're there every Saturday. So yeah, in a way, a majority of the people who work for us or I work with are within the community. It might be that my boss is straight, but that's basically it. But you have to make money in order to create something where people from within the community have a steady place to come.
I would like to move the topic to a safe space. How can you ensure a safe space in what happens? And especially with, well, Kay, I'm going to start with you, but also I would like to hear about you, Anna, because when there's a sex-positive party, how do you make sure that sex-positive isn't turned into something nasty? But Kay, how you would like to react first?
Oh, only because I learned from my marketing director, Jackie, what up, who's here,
hey,
that we don't use the word safe space, we call it safer space, because it can always be safer, it can never be safe. Nobody can guarantee that any place is safe in this world. Thanks, Jackie.
Well, Anna, do you agree with that?
Yeah, sure, of course I agree with that. I mean, well, in a way, a club is not even that public, but you have 300, I don't know how many you have in. 600. Things happen that were not meant to happen. Sure, that is there. But there are a lot of ways you can go into why it becomes safer. I mean, it goes by community. It goes by that you openly name the things as they are. I mean, for a lot of clubs, it's already even not to be discussed that there could be happening sex between partners of same sex or not. It just doesn't happen. You know, I've been so often told that I need to put my shirt on a dance floor. I mean, that's where it starts already. You know, I love to take my shirt off when I dance, wherever. I'm easy with my body. That's not the case quite often.
No, I know, but at church, when there is a sex-positive or sex-aimed party, how do you make sure that whatever happens there is consensual?
As I say, you really talk about the things that can happen. So HIV is discussed in our club, and you can see it everywhere, the awareness of it. We provide the stuff you want at the moment of sex. So there's always lubricant, there's always condoms. by having and showing condoms and giving them for free, you already make a very big gesture to people and say, hey, it's okay what you want to do here, feel okay by it. As quick as people feel positive about their body and welcome, it starts working like a, well, how shall I say, it reacts to the other people around you. It's a thing you almost, you know, it's like it's in the air. So people, there is this kind of knowledge among the customers who choose to come already in a party and choose to go by the dress code or no dress code because they're completely naked. So you know what you're up to, you know what you're gonna do.
Being the devil's advocate, isn't that a little bit naive?
No, it's not.
No, but thinking that everybody knows and you know agrees with everything that happens, especially when there's alcohol involved or sometimes drugs involved, you know, things can happen. And do you feel that as a responsibility in church?
Well, that there again, yes, we do feel it as our responsibility in church that people come and that things can happen. So we are trained, we are knowledged about what to do, but we also knowledge to stay in contact with our customers. We truly ask customers, hey, how are you? You know, when they come in for the code check, do you want some information? Do you know where you are? Do you know what expected is from you? You go in a little bit of contact. I mean, this is possible. And we have a club, we do parties, 280 people, 300 people. You can stay in contact with your customers. This is tough when you have a party of 1,000.
I don't believe in this myth of a safe space, but indeed as a safer space. Also because safe is actually something very passive, because it means that there is no work left to be done. And safer is more active. And it also puts responsibility at the guest of the party. Because safe is so subjective and it can mean something different from me to you. And I think that's also a question I want to leave with the audience for this coming weekend where we have 4 or 5 days of parties. Do you know when your friends feel safe at a party? It's not something that we often ask each other. What makes you feel comfortable? What makes you feel safe? And I feel that as a community, we have to be aware of what makes a safe space for somebody. And in addition to that, at Pornceptual, we have an awareness team. They consist of people who regularly attend our parties as well, and they are there the entire night. And they are mostly there to look out for the guests. They're kind of like visibly active, and they don't judge. They won't bring you to security if they catch you with drugs or with everything, but they're just there to check in on you and see if things are going fine. And basically, just by having them present at the party, people see it already gives them some kind of responsibility of the rules that these spaces kind of like contain.
Right.
I'd like to say something. At my event, I don't like to call it my events because a safe space, I provide the space, but we make it safe. That's how I see it. Like everybody in the queer, women-only scene, you go there for a purpose, and that's to meet one another, to have a good time, and to feel safe. That's why I will keep calling it a safe space, because I just like the name safe space, but we create it together. And how do I do it? We just, through communication, at the door, security, because not all women look like the women of TV. So we always say, when you have doubts, just let them go in, let them feel welcome. Because at Ms.Jones, really, we don't care how you look like, or you just have to feel welcome, have a good time. And on the dance floor, we try to just keep looking over everybody. It sounds weird, but when we see someone filming someone because she's acting weird or dancing in her own vibe, then we talk to the person like, would you please not film that person? Everybody can be who they want to be here. So that's how we do it. But what I want to say is that we create a safe space together.
Together.
Yeah.
There was a need for you to organize women-only parties because, can I say, because the mixed parties weren't safe enough?
Not safe enough. it has nothing to do with the safeness of it, but I love women. And I love to see them all at one place. So
It's your own fantasy.
it's my own little fantasy. No,
All
but
right.
I wanted to create a place where like-minded
I think-
women can come and enjoy another. Please don't let my wife hear this.
Things are clear. Marieke, I want to switch to you as well, because at Milkshake it's quite impossible to monitor who comes in, because
No, you
anybody can buy a ticket and nobody's rejected in a sense, you know.
Yeah. Yes.
How do you create that safe space that, I'm not going to
we
come
have
with...
a lot of work to do. Every year again.
But how do you do that?
Well, we talk with our online people a lot by personal messages, and we need to be aware. But 34,000 people is hard to handle, and then so when there are complaints or moments that people don't feel safe, yes, we all need to learn again. But this is such a moment once a year. So it's really hard.
Are there many complaints or not?
Sorry?
Are there many complaints about people not feeling safe?
Last year it was less than the year before. Year before we had some newbies in our security team. They didn't feel the whole queer community, so I think it was a Turkish 6-year-old guy who was standing next to the sex moment at Pornceptual. No, but also, so they weren't informed. This is the problem of very big parties.
Yeah. So communication there is really, really important, and informing
Yes.
everybody involved.
And I do actually think security is sometimes a problem as well. Like we only have limited control over at some point who is involved. Like there is no queer security team in Berlin. It doesn't exist. And we have 8-9 security, and a full queer security team doesn't exist. I mean, we've been through a loop, so we're very comfortable with the security team we have now. But it is important that they reflect the safer space as well.
I see a business model now. Are there any questions from the audience? Things you would like to know? Topics we haven't touched on yet? Personal questions, phone numbers you would like to exchange? No? If so, just please raise your hand, then I can come to you with a microphone. The context where you work in, is the fact that you're based in London, that you're based in New York, we're in Amsterdam, Berlin, is that city context important? And if so, in what sense? Who would like to start?
Yes. If you don't know, New York is extremely expensive. And so when we're talking about safety, a lot of our cities are, let's be real, but New York is one of the, it's extremely expensive. It's hard to be a queer artist, especially, or a person of color, because you aren't getting hired as much, especially for those really nice, cushy, well-paying jobs. There is still workplace discrimination across the board. I'm being very, very open about it, but let's just say in general, it's harder to get those jobs. So it's harder to advance yourself in the society, and it's harder to stay in the city and take care of your health, take care of your body. So I feel like New York has a specific problem. America has a very unique racism problem because of the history of America and what we've done. It's a little different than some European countries. And yeah, it's an ongoing conversation. For me, the solution is queer-focused, women-focused, POC-focused mentorship, because mentorship is the only way that you could advance people on a professional level so that they could get that job, so they get that money, so they can keep that cycle going in the family and in the community.
What kind of practical examples do you have about mentorship? How do you guys practically do that?
Honestly, it's we actively do it. We're lucky enough to have a venue where we have a lot of employees, we have a lot of positions, and part of it is really emotional energy and a lot of time spent with individuals. You invest your time, you believe in them. They might not be ready for the job that you want to hire them for. So you spend extra hours of your night teaching them how to do a spreadsheet, teaching them how to do the job, so that in 3 months, 6 months, you can hire them, you can promote them. And we have about 5 people on our team that they just didn't have the skills. And also they worked really hard, they persevered, they are very impressive with how much time they've put into the club and with their heart. So we were able to actually give them jobs, mutually.
Taking care of more parts of the community than only providing parties, is what you're saying.
Your community is not just your patrons and your guests. Your community should be the people behind the scenes, doing your sound, doing your lights, doing your booking. Like, give those people jobs, give those people education, and they will be really, really up, like a strong backbone and a foundation to the queer community, whatever space it takes up.
Anna, I would like to talk to you as well, because everybody's talking about how Amsterdam is changing, how it's turning more and more to be like London or New York, how the city center is exclusively for the rich. Is that something you experienced the results of the effects of in your party as well?
Sure. For us, it's a day-to-day fight to have the club as it is in the middle in the city, in these old 17th century old buildings.
Why was there a fight? Was that with city council?
No, it's not a fight, but it's a struggle, because this city becomes highly allergic to sound. People live densely on each other. Clubs always have done it. Whatever. Everybody's using them. Everybody wants to use them. Everybody loves nightlife. But as soon when something goes wrong, even though it doesn't come from us, it's us to blame. So I have a very close contact with the community. I'm always upfront. I'm sharing a lot. We're very transparent. It's what you say actually as well. A lot of my time is talking to people, but also talking to the neighborhood, why we're there, what we're up to, and that's a lot of.
Will you be in that place still in 10 years, in this changing city, if it changes it at this rate?
Yes, we will. Yeah, we will.
Very good. But you were a little bit in doubt. Where did the doubt come from? You were a little bit in doubt before you gave the answer.
Well, no, I mean, it's something you constantly work on. And, we hired a building from a very big broker. We were just over in contract, and we sit down, we discuss, and he's happy with us, and now we are fixed for another coming time. So that's all going fine. But of course, there are other problems to come. Yeah.
Right. Kasper, how's that in Berlin? Because Berlin has changed a lot in the past couple of years.
Yeah, but Berlin has changed a lot in the last couple of years, and it's actually changing a lot also right now. There are plans for some highway that nobody needs, that will cross the city and is a danger for 3 of the biggest queer parties in Berlin right now. And it's very unsure what's going to happen with these spaces. And that's obviously, even though it doesn't affect our space on itself, it does affect our community, so our audience. And in a way, we're in a very kind of sensitive position. We have a party of almost like 2,500 guests once every 2 months, so we don't own the venue. And if we're not invited in this space anymore, I would honestly not have an idea where we could go. So,
right. So that's a threat. Sherryl?
What I've noticed, I want to add something, because I don't own the venue. But what I noticed in Amsterdam is that all the lesbian parties, let's keep it there, were white, mainly white. And we live in Amsterdam. Like, I come from Amsterdam West, and I know how to speak Moroccan. I know everything. So I was a little bit surprised. So Ms.Jones is really targeting every culture. And what you ask, like, how does your city impact the party or your work? That's Ms.Jones. Like, when you come at Ms.Jones, we have like Turkish people, Moroccan, Surinamese, like everything is there. It's like, yes, this is Amsterdam. So that's how it impacted our
Nice.
work.
But I'm still a bit worried because what you say is that is an exception, that the regular parties are not geared to be inclusive in that sense as well.
Yes, that's what I said. We try to normalize it, but first we have to focus on it.
Yeah. Junior, how do you do that at Nix to be more inclusive in different kinds of way, that it's not the stereotypical gay person that comes to that?
It's not me who does it, but it's the group of kids I have around me. Like I have a team of ambassadors which are from bio queens, still transgender man or transgender woman, but also the fact that I took the ballroom community together with Amber Vineyard to the club to create a space for them where they can have their kikis, they can have their balls. So it's basically something like when I started there, I tried to grab like the little subcultures of the community and gave them all their different day. So when we started off the parties with Amber, which is Pussy Wagon, it was empty. Like it was basically the ballroom community who came, but that was it. And now we're like 2 years further, and I have people coming at 10 in front of the venue, like wanting to see the ball. So it's kind of like melting together, like taking the subgroups and getting other people involved. Well, they will come back and be like, oh my God, I went to see a ball and it was amazing. And that's kind of how it evolved.
In this day and age, is there time to let parties grow? I mean, if it starts out with an empty room and the next one is a little bit less empty, but still empty, have you still got time to invest for 2 years in order to make it a success?
For me, yeah, but it's also because I'm not the one making the money. Like, I'm just there to create a place for, like, Nix is a place for young kids where you can be straight when you step in, but like after a few times you can be like, I might like guys, or I might like that. Like, it's not something, it's a place where people create themselves instead of having a community taking over a venue. It's more like people coming without makeup and like in a few weeks they're turned into a huge club kid. And I think that's the most important place of Nix, like for young people to develop themselves in what they want to be.
Right. Kasper?
You said if you have time to invest, right, in these like 2 years, and I think that's one of the points why there is so many parties ruled by white people, because it's also like a privilege to be able to invest for 2 years in a party when it's not profitable yet. So there needs to be kind of like a support system that enables people of color to start their parties as well. Because in the beginning, it's not like your first party, you're gonna make money and you'll be profitable. So it is a risk, yeah.
And there are not enough opportunities to have more alternative parties or more. Sometimes it's like if there is a focus on people of color, sometimes you can regard that as exoticism, that it focuses on the stereotypical part of it.
I think there are two sides. Like you have white people of color, and white people get more chances, they get more accepted. That's a fact. I have to struggle like 10 times harder. And then you have the personal being, because Ms.Jones is not always full. Sometimes it's intimate, but the people who are there, they're having a nice time, and that's why I do it. I believe in the power of Ms.Jones, and that's why I keep on doing it, because I don't do it for me. What they say already, you don't get rich off the first few parties, but you have to believe in the parties, and you have to do it with a, how do you say it in English? With a purpose.
With a purpose, yeah.
And that purpose, that's what I'm trying to
bring
my English
across.
is not the best, but that's what I'm trying to share.
Your point is clear.
And yes, there's a difference. And of course, sometimes I'm in my bed going like, what the fuck, man? I did the same thing as my little white friend, and they get all the credits. But it won't let me, I won't stop because of that.
Great.
Never.
Thank you. Very nice. Time has ran out almost, but not before I give you guys the opportunity to ask some final questions. If you would like to ask your final things or share ideas, I will come up to you.
Good afternoon. Let's say hypothetically that all Queen Bee, no, Marciano, nice to meet you. Let's say that like all different clubs and society opens the door for us to feel safe in different parties, also straight parties. What will it bring you to still keep yourself going on, or will you just mingle through that, or do you keep yourself separate and keep providing your space, as you mentioned it?
Who, is there a specific person you would like to answer? Anybody? So if things are becoming more and more mainstream, is there still a need for, if parties are getting more and more inclusive, is there still a need for separate parties? Okay.
Yeah. Totally.
Why? Because we can all live together happily and there is no need for separation.
No, I think this is more selfishly for me. I like variety. Actually, one of the things I liked most about Milkshake was it felt, Milkshake Festival, here you know, but it felt like 12 different parties in one open space. So there was inclusivity, umbrella, all that, but I could go, everything had its own distinct flavor, and I think, like I said, cultural sustainability and focusing on that unique flavor that is very specific and it's not all mixed together. I think I'm a little bit into the little having compartments and separate spaces that can mix together in the middle, but they still have their own little tight community. I like that.
Great. Separate spaces, but brought together in an umbrella.
Yeah, not walls and borders and boundaries, just that they have their own little houses.
Great.
With a shared backyard.
The shared backyard. I think that's a great idea to end with. Thank you so much for your attention. It was, of course, a very short time to get to know the people on the panel a little bit more and get to know about their work. You guys will be here still, so if people have any questions, please come up to them. And we hope to enjoy you guys at the parties and at your venues as well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.